He is Dr. Chow and joins us this morning on the show. Dr. Chow, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Thanks so much, as always, for joining us. It's always good to be able to pick your brain. And number one, I want to ask you, do you think the Chiefs put Mahomes in a bad situation by running a quarterback sneak, knowing that his ankle was not 100%?
No. I think, as Mike Tanier said, a worse position might be playing with Von Miller opposite him, coming down on him with some injured offensive linemen. I do not think beyond the normal scope of football, which always carries danger. If he was healthy enough to play with the high ankle, I don't think that quarterback sneak was particularly dangerous, nor do I think the right kneecap dislocation was directly or really even remotely indirectly related to the left high ankle sprain, which he's had since week one.
It's kind of a freak injury in this aspect, right? I mean, we have quarterbacks that do quarterback sneaks all the time, perfectly healthy, and rarely, if ever, do they get injured on the play. For him to get injured on the play was really something that almost never happens, correct?
Unusual, but, you never know what happens in the pile there, and obviously there's a lot of contact. But I would not say that a sneak is particularly dangerous. If it's a sneak where he's going up and over the lineman, maybe so. But he was huddled down literally on the rear ends of the offensive linemen, kind of following them. So it was someone from the side that unfortunately injured him.
Dr. Chow joins us this morning on the show. ProFootballDoc.com is his website. ProFootballDoc is also his Twitter handle for great information on NFL injuries. So tell us what the decision to make is for the Chiefs as they get this MRI back today.
Well, ultimately, the decision is Patrick Mahomes, right? No one can force someone to have surgery or not have surgery. And the S-word surgery is on the table. I'm not saying he's going to have it for sure. I'm not saying that I know what the MRI is going to show. But typically, when you dislocate your kneecap, one first worry is there a loose chip of articular cartilage or something that's been knocked or scuffed off? Usually there isn't, which would be good news. But usually there is tearing of what we call the medial retinaculum, or four letters that all your listeners are going to get used to over the next few days, MPFL. Everyone knows ACL, everyone knows MCL. MPFL is the ligament that attaches to the kneecap that helps hold it from going out of place. Lots of considerations there, but the potential is surgery either now or at the end of the season to try and keep this kneecap from recurrently popping out of place.
If he has surgery at the end of the season, how long does that keep him out for?
Typically a 6 to 9 month timeline. So is it impossible to do it at the end of the season and be ready for the next season? No, it's doable, but it's a little bit tight, but it is doable. One comp that I talked about in the articles and other things is Matthew Stafford. In 2009, he apparently had a similar injury. I don't know if it was exactly the same. Returned after 3 weeks, finished the season, and then had surgery in the off season. Now, of course, they're a little bit different. They both play quarterback, but they're both very different quarterbacks, and that factors into the decision-making as well.
So worst case scenario for Patrick Mahomes is that they find that there's ligament damage, have to shut him down right now. He has the surgery, and he's out 9 months and comes back for next year. Is the best case scenario they don't need to do the surgery now? He's off it for 3 or 4 weeks, comes back and plays the season, but then has to have the surgery in February and has to be out until next September or October?
Well, the best case scenario is very little or no ligament damage, no articular cartilage damage. His groove is deep. His knee angles are good. He can rehab it and never have a problem again. That's not super likely, but that's the best case scenario. The more likely scenario is what you're talking about here. Do they try and do it like Matthew Stafford, rehab him and return him to play with a brace? He might need to modify what he does a little bit because certainly he's very good in the pocket, but he's very, very dynamic as a player. And the more dynamic that you are, the more chance the kneecap may shift. And then the fear is, do you knock off articular cartilage the next time it happens? And so that's the decision-making process after the MRI today. I'm sure they've already talked about it, the Chiefs and Mahomes and the doctors, et cetera, who, by the way, did a great job in putting the kneecap back on the field and the whole deal. So they're on top of it. They're going to know this. And the question is, do we risk this short term, or do we decide to live to fight another day, given that he's a young player and on a lot of years left?
Dr. Chow joins us this morning on the show. Two more for you. Number one, is there the risk of permanent damage? In other words, a knee that's not as mobile for the rest of his career?
Well, there's always that risk even to his left knee, right? It is correct. It's the game of football. So on any given play, anything can happen. But currently right now, absent bad news on the MRI with already some articular cartilage damage, he should be able to return to essentially 100% if he were to have surgery now. And yes, he could try and finish the season and still return to be 100%. But if lightning strikes a second time and he were to damage some articular cartilage, that could be the onset of arthritis and could affect him long term. Not for sure, but could. These are the risks and rewards that the team and Mahomes will be talking about today, tomorrow, et cetera.
Final question for you, and that is, by virtue of seeing Mahomes walking off the field in his own power yesterday and in the postgame, does that give us any sense of the severity of it?
Doesn't change anything for me. All that tells me is, look at how tough Mahomes is. Go back and look at the video. He couldn't move. He laid on top of his offensive lineman, not moving. Could not bend his knee because the kneecap was out of place. The offensive lineman underneath him wiggled himself out from underneath Mahomes. And the Chiefs doctors did a good job putting the kneecap back in, which gave him some fairly good instantaneous relief. But, of course, the next phase of swelling is coming, and he walked off. He's as tough as they come. I said week one, I was surprised he finished the game with the high ankle sprain week one. No one kind of listened because he did so well. And now week 5, 6, we talk about the high ankle because he re-aggravated it all the time. He is tough as they come. I am sure he is going to want to rehab and play through. The question is, if you're the Chiefs and your ownership, look, if you're a fantasy owner, you'll probably want him to play through. But if you're actually the owner of the team, what would you do with this situation?
David Chow joins us. He's always such a wonderful resource in situations like this. You can follow him on Twitter at ProFootballDoc or check out his website, ProFootballDoc.com, for the latest on injuries around the NFL. Doctor, it's always good to catch up. Thanks so much for doing it on short notice today.
No problem. And if your listeners sign up for free at the website, I'll be doing updates later today once we get the MRI results and there's more news on Patrick Mahomes.
Excellent. 17-plus years as an NFL team doctor. That website is ProFootballDoc.com.